Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a look at the book Happy by Derren Brown. So if you've heard of Derren Brown before, you'll know that he's the magician and illusionist that can seemingly control people's minds on TV. But in his book Happy, Derren dives headfirst into the philosophical pursuit of how we can find happiness. And happiness has been studied across the millennia, from the ancient Greek philosophers to the minds of the present day. I'm sure it's something you've thought about too, right? I myself, I've definitely given some thought as to how I can live a happier life. So, since we all want to become happier, and since Derren Brown is a ridiculously smart guy, why don't we take a look at what he's got to say. Part 1. Self-help. Derren is quick to point out that this book isn't concerned with the positive thinking approach to happiness, which has flooded the self-help industry. Positive thinking is the idea that you can get what you want just by thinking positively, because this positive energy will attract the things that you desire. But Derren thinks that this idea isn't realistic, and that it will only lead to disappointment because the universe is indifferent to us. And it's actually quite a modern idea to think that happiness is something that we're entitled to, as if it's some sort of birthright. But in reality this isn't the case. Happiness is more of a byproduct. It arises indirectly, so don't fall for the trap of chasing happiness. Instead, let's travel back in time, 2,000 years to be precise, to see the ideas and teachings which can actually help us. Okay, so part 2, Stoicism. Stoicism is a philosophy which was founded in Athens in the 3rd century BC and was popular in Greece and in the Roman Empire. The beauty of this philosophy is that it has existed for such a long time, yet the teachings are just as relevant in today's world. The Stoics understood that things will happen in our lives which are outside of our control, and to try and control these things would be futile. Therefore, we should only focus our energy and our effort on the things that we can control. And the only things that we can control are our thoughts and our actions. This is the fundamental idea upon which Stoicism is built. And moving on to part 3, storytelling. We are, each of us, a product of the stories we tell ourselves. This quote expresses a super important message. Your life is a story that you tell yourself. You are the narrator. And this story shapes not only your perception of your own life, but also your perception of the whole world. And since we're looking at good quotes, let's bash out another one, eh? It's not the events out there that cause our problems, but our reactions to them. As these two quotes highlight, it is our internal thoughts which dictate how we perceive who we are, how we perceive the events which take place in our life, and how we perceive the world around us. So really, it doesn't matter that we can't control anything in the external world, because our happiness is only really dependent on our internal world. You can be lying on a beach in the middle of paradise, surrounded by luxury, but if your mind isn't in the right place, then you aren't going to be happy. And on the flip side, you can be in an ordinary environment, surrounded by ordinary things, but if your mind is in the right place, you can feel very content. And this all reminds me of one of my absolute favourite quotes. The mind is its own place, and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. Again, this quote supports the idea that happiness stems from our inner world, so let's remember not to chase those external temptations such as money, status, or material objects, which moves us swiftly onto the next key part of the book. Part 4, Desire. The Stoics also understood that when we desire things that we do not have, we tend to not value the things that we already have. We chase money, status, or materialistic goods in an attempt to be happier, but this doesn't actually work. The old saying, money can't buy happiness, is true. All the research shows that after earning a comfortable amount of money, our happiness no longer increases with the more money we have. Sometimes our desire for happiness comes in the form of goals or aims. We go to school and we try and get into that particular university because that will make us happy. We then get into that university, we get a good degree because that will ultimately lead to the job position which will make us happy. And then we get that job and we desire the promotion to the higher role because that will be what will make us happy. And this is what's known as the hedonic treadmill. It's the tendency for our levels of happiness to return back to normal even after we achieve things or positive things happen in our life. If someone wins the lottery, they're going to be happy, right? Well, yes and no. They will be happy initially, but research shows that 18 months later, that same person won't be any happier than the people who didn't win the lottery. This is because humans adapt very quickly to new situations, and all of a sudden, being a millionaire is your new standard of normal. And what's even weirder is that this works in the opposite direction too. If someone suffers a negative life-changing event, such as losing a limb, they will initially be less happy with their life, but after time, they adjust to their new situation and their happiness level returns to normal. So, I guess the bottom line is this, and I'll try to say it without sounding like I'm your mum, okay? Try and be grateful for the things that you have, rather than spending your time chasing the things that you don't have. Okay guys, I think that's me done. I hope you found this video insightful. If you haven't really heard about Stoicism before, then I know that some of it can seem a bit strange, but give it some thought and hopefully you can take something away to help enrich your life. As always, if you're interested in grabbing a copy of the book, I've left a cheeky link in the description below. I've also popped a link in the description to a YouTube video of an interview in which Derren Brown talks with Audible about this book, so I recommend checking it out too. See you next time. Love you, bye.